Welcome to a new edition of ENZA's video series to Net Zero With. I'm Martina Bassan and I'm joined today by 3 founding members of the European Net Zero Alliance. We have here today with us Ralph Betzel, who is Secretary General of EUGINE and EUTurbines. We have Maria João Duarte, who is also representing EUTurbines, and Stéphane Pierrot here today on behalf of Hydrogen Europe. Thanks for joining us. Before kicking off with the first question, maybe just a quick word to our viewers who are watching this video series for the first time. So the purpose of this video series is really to discuss about the potential of combining vectors and cross-sectoral solutions to get to net zero. And this was really one of the points that got together all the different associations that joined ENZA at the very beginning in 2021. The idea of moving forward to reach climate neutrality by 2015 by by relying on practical and cost-effective solutions. And today we are discussing a specific topic. Today we're going to talk about how specific technologies can be deployed in an integrated system. I would like to ask you, how can we achieve a successful renewable transition from your perspective, from your point of view, and more specifically, what's the role of hydrogen-ready plants in the process? Ralph?
Very fascinating question, because for some it may sound like a contradiction. So why would you have a renewable energy world or transition and use gas power plants? But I think it's important to remind ourselves that a gas power plant is a technology, and if that technology uses green hydrogen generated from renewable electricity and water, it produces renewable electricity and heat. So in that sense, it's not a contradiction. But that, of course, does not yet answer the question of why at all to use it instead of just using directly generated renewable electricity. And the answer to that is twofold, because one is on the level of the transition that happens right now, and you mentioned transition, and the second level is really on the topic of flexibly balancing electricity grids, which is a topic that is getting more and more importance the more wind and sun we have in the system.
Maria João, maybe you want to pick up on that?
Absolutely. So in the transition from today's energy system to a system that is compatible with climate neutrality, we will have to look at well-orchestrated solutions that are not necessarily obvious to us today. We today don't have in the system enough renewable electrons or molecules to meet the growing demand for power and heat, and so that justifies the use of fossil gas in power plants today. From the equipment supplier point of view, we are working to make sure that we provide solutions to these plant operators to be able to switch to renewable gases, use renewable gases like hydrogen or biomethane as they become available. An example is, for instance, Mitsubishi Power, who has successfully tested 30% hydrogen combustion with natural gas in 2018, and is looking at achieving 100% hydrogen firing in 2025. So basically, for the energy system and the transition, this means two things. On the one hand, we are providing solutions that bring these power plants to lower carbon footprints, kind of future-proofing these investments in a way. And on the other hand, we are ensuring that we have enough stability and flexibility in the system to accommodate increasing shares of variable renewables.
Stéphane, what is your point of view on that?
I can only agree. I think that all energy suppliers today are facing the same challenges. They want to support the carbon neutral transition of the consumers, of the client, while converting also their own fleet of power generators. And to achieve this, it seems that the current technology mix could not be enough, and that we need to think out of the box to enhance the mix with additional technologies. The more you replace dependable capacity by weather-dependent capacity, the more flexibility means you need to ensure security of supplies. And because of that, it seems that green hydrogen produced by excess electricity seems an interesting concept to enhance the technology mix.
Thanks. So there's we are talking about a transition phase to get smoothly to a fully decarbonized system. But once we get to this fully decarbonized system, how hydrogen and hydrogen-ready plants will be able to balance the renewable energy capacity? The
underlying idea is that actually you can keep building and developing renewable projects with offshore wind and with solar park, for instance, but at a certain moment in time, you are dependent of the weather. At other time, you have too much energy to serve your customer, and you are having a kind of excess production as compared to the needs of your customer. It would be interesting to investigate the concept, the idea, to make green hydrogen from this excess electricity being available, and when need be, after having stored that green hydrogen, to blend actually a portion of natural gas with hydrogen to fire and to power actually the existing gas-fired turbine, and it will result in a very tangible contribution of a carbon neutral transition from the existing production park.
Maria, perspective from EUTurbines.
So we know that renewable energy comes on a use it or lose it basis. So it's either wasted or curtailed, and that has also a cost for the system, right? So hydrogen gives us a unique opportunity as an energy storage to use that surplus energy and to then later on turn it into electricity, power, well, heat without CO2 emissions, and use it in assets that are today not running on hydrogen necessarily, because we don't have that today available. It complements other energy storage technologies like batteries, but it brings a much larger quantity of energy with it, right? And because hydrogen can be stored for longer periods of time, it really helps us to balance intermittency, to cope with seasonal power supply imbalances, and also shorten these curtailment of power from solar or wind.
Yeah, I think it's just important to keep in mind that a hydrogen-ready gas power plant has the one big advantage as a technology, that it can generate electricity whenever you really need it and as long as you need it. And that's just really an important characteristic. So when you have shorter supply gaps, then of course you have other options like batteries or demand response that you may use. But when you come to a gap of 10 hours or a few days or weeks in winter, you have no other solution that on demand for as long as you need it can fill this gap for the reliability of the electricity system. And that is not only true when you look at kind of big power plants providing supply to the large grids. That is also true when you go down a level to a decentral level, where you have mainly engines in the generation there. And there, when you go to for example, a district heating grid, we will in the future have a large share of heat pumps in there to help providing the heat. But in a very cold winter week, they will get reach their limits. So supporting them then at this moment by providing extra electricity or providing directly heat for the district heating grid, that's something that you would do with a cogeneration engine in that case.
So flexibility is really the key word here, a flexible system that is adaptable and that also takes into consideration the issue of seasonality. Do you have some example, practical example? I'm sure our viewers are very interested in that.
So it's definitely not sci-fi. It's happening, and I can bring you two examples. The first one, an example by Mitsubishi Power in the US, in Utah, where we have at the moment the largest renewable energy storage project. It's called Advanced Clean Energy Storage Project. And basically Mitsubishi Power is looking at something that pictures what we were just discussing now. There is excess renewable power available that is not being used. This project is sitting on underground salt caverns that allow for hydrogen produced by these renewables to be stored, but also allows other technologies to play a role. And it's just next door to the Intermountain Power Plant, 1.8 coal-fired power plant, which feeds roughly 1/5 of Los Angeles electricity today and is due to retire in 2025. So as you see, all the elements are there: excess renewables, the storage capacity, so availability, and the possibility to reconvert this hydrogen into renewable electricity when time needs. And of course, this power plant is connected directly to the city. So it's a perfect example of what we're talking about here. The other example is, well, in a different geography. It's in Japan, and it's Mitsubishi Power's Takasago Hydrogen Park. And this basically, in essence, is an in-house integrated demonstration facility which tries to showcase when it comes into operation, normally in 2023, so this year, to showcase the entire supply chain of hydrogen, so from the production to the utilization in different applications, but of course hydrogen gas turbines. And this is very interesting because it's testing and verifying the technology in real life before it hits the market, before commercialization. So I think that those are two interesting examples.
Stefan, would you have an example as well?
Oh, there are a few ones. I'm thinking more especially of a few tech companies, digital companies headquartered in California. We are today in Brussels. They do operate in this side of Europe a fleet of data center in the Netherlands, in Belgium as well, and they like the idea to be the front runner in the zero carbon transition and to show a little bit the way to the rest of the industries. And so an interesting concept, and I know that ENGIE is cooperating with them about this, is actually to achieve carbon-free energy on an early matching by compensating the hours where no sun and no wind is available with carbon-free energy coming from an existing power plant in the Netherlands, fed with green hydrogen. And that green hydrogen, and we know that hydrogen is at the center of the strategy of the Netherlands, more especially, and that green hydrogen will be produced by the excess production of the renewable project that ENGIE do operate in the Netherlands. So it's a win-win situation where you were saying use it or lose it, where we will actually recycle an excess production of renewable electricity to produce hydrogen, and where we will coal that hydrogen when need be to compensate the missing wind, the missing electricity, so that the tech company can achieve a fully carbon neutral supply for its fleet of data centers. So it's very tangible, and it will be for tomorrow.
We have time for a last example of an interesting project. Ralph?
Yeah, maybe just to put it into context, why are these still projects and not kind of spread out reality yet? One of the reasons is simply we don't have the quantities of hydrogen yet that we would need for really rolling this out large scale. So yes, we need more hydrogen. We need to support that first. But just as an example, for because the engines are typically smaller in size, so they need less hydrogen to operate. And there, quite a number have been tested. In fact, already for operating with 100% of hydrogen. So it works. There we have different of our members doing that. And just taking one specific example, our member Rolls-Royce Power Systems, they are now building a project in the harbor of the German city of Duisburg, where for that harbor they will set up 2 cogeneration plants in combination with a fuel cell. So it's not a competition, it's a combination, in fact, where they will produce electricity and heat for on-site demand, but also providing electricity for the grid for balancing whenever needed. So I think it's a good example of the direction that we go. Again, I think the biggest challenge, we're ready with the technology, but the biggest challenge is that we get this hydrogen economy now up and running and we get more hydrogen into the market.
So many examples worldwide, really everywhere in the world, but a lot of potential. There's still a lot of potential out there. Thank you for joining us today, and thanks to our viewers as well. Please do tune in again for other interesting discussions on system integrations.